Today, we're digging into something pretty fundamental, how software actually, starts. Ever wondered how your computer knows exactly where to begin when you launch an app? Like which line of code is first? It's not just random.
That's a great question. And no, definitely not random. Every single program needs what we call an entry point.
An entry point.
Yeah, think of it as the very first instruction the computer actually runs. It's the precise spot where execution begins.
Okay.
Without that specific starting line, honestly, the computer would be completely lost.
Lost how?
It just wouldn't know which piece of your code to run first. Nothing would actually kick off. It's like trying to visit a house but having no idea where the front door is. You need that entry point.
Right, right. The front door. So is there like a standard front door address that most programs use?
In a lot of cases, yes, especially for what we call compiled languages.
Compiled languages
Yeah.
like C, C++, Java.
Exactly those. Languages where the code gets translated into machine language before you run it. For those, the entry point is almost always a special function called main.
Main. Okay, I think I've seen that before.
You probably have. It's the standard launchpad. When you run the program, the operating system is specifically looking for main. It finds it, jumps right in there, and then the rest of your program starts running from that point.
So the operating system knows to look for main.
Precisely. It's a critical convention. It helps the OS manage everything smoothly.
But why main? Seems a bit plain, maybe. Why that specific name? Is there a history there?
There definitely is. It's mostly about convention, about standardization. It really goes back to the C language back in the 1970s.
Ah, okay. C again.
Yeah, its designers, Ritchie and Kernhan, they just decided main would be the place to start. And it worked so well, and C became so influential that, other languages just adopted it.
So it just stuck.
It really stuck. Think about the chaos if every programmer used a different name. Compilers, operating systems. They'd have a nightmare figuring out where to begin each time. Main gives stability. Like always knowing where the on button is.
That makes a lot of sense. Consistency is key. So what usually happens inside this main function once the computer finds it?
Good question. Typically, main handles the program's main sort of high-level tasks. It might get some input first, maybe from you typing or from reading a file.
Okay.
Then it processes that input somehow, does calculations, makes decisions based on the data. And finally, it usually produces some kind of output, showing results on the screen, saving a file, something like that.
So it orchestrates the whole thing.
Often, yeah. It acts like a conductor. It might call other, more specialized functions to do specific jobs, but pain is usually where the overall flow is controlled.
But hang on, what about languages like, say, Python or JavaScript? I don't always see an explicit main function written out there.
That's a really sharp observation. You're right, some languages handle it differently on the surface. Python scripts, for example, often just start executing from the very first line of the file, top to bottom.
Right.
And JavaScript in a browser usually runs scripts in the order they appear in the HTML. And sometimes modern frameworks kind of hide the entry point details from you.
So is main not always necessary then?
Well, here's the thing. Even when you don't see a function explicitly named main, especially thinking about compiled code, there's always some kind of entry mechanism working underneath.
Ah, okay. Behind the scenes.
Exactly. There might be something called a runtime system that does a bunch of setup first. It gets the environment ready, and then it calls whatever function is designated as the actual starting point for your code. So the visible front door might look different or be hidden, but the concept of a specific entry point, that's fundamental. There's always a way in.
Fascinating. So wrapping this up, what's the main thing we should remember from this deep dive?
The core takeaway, I think, is that main inline is the incredibly common agreed upon starting point, especially in compiled languages like C, C++, Java.
The standard front door.
The standard front door, yeah. The operating system looks for it to know where to begin. It's a convention that started with C and stuck around because, well, it works. It provides consistency.
Even when it's hidden.
Even when you don't explicitly type main, remember there's always some mechanism, some underlying front door logic that gets your program up and running. It has to start somewhere.
It really makes you think about how much is going on under the hood.
Absolutely. Here's a thought to leave you with. Given that some languages hide it or scripts run top to bottom, how does that change the way you might think about structuring your code, even if there's always that hidden entry point doing the initial work?
Interesting question. Something to mull over. Okay, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Hopefully you now have a clearer picture of that crucial first step every program takes. Until next time.